Hello everyone and welcome to Solar Sunday. We're going to have a look at Solar Cycle 24 for today's video, see how the solar cycle is progressing, and then we'll also compare it to Solar Cycle 12. We're running very closely, as I'm sure you know if you've been watching the Solar Cycle Solar Sunday updates. You'll know that the current solar cycle has been running very closely to Solar Cycle 12 back in the 1800s. So we'll see how things are going in terms of comparing the two solar cycles. We'll also have a look at some winter charts, can you believe? In the second half of the video, I've been supplied with some very interesting information from my good friend James Ackrell. And I know James is going to be watching the Solar Sunday update, so thanks very much, James, for giving me all of the information for this video. Some fantastic charts from James as well. It's going to be quite a long video, so you're going to need to get a comfy chair and get a cup of tea, that sort of thing. You're going to be here for a little while. It's only the 8th Solar Sunday update that we've done since May 2013. I've been having a look at some of the past updates that we've done. So it's only an occasional thing that we do at GaussOverViz.com, but very occasionally I do like to throw the website over to the solar cycle, particularly as we get up towards winter updates, and they'll be starting next month in September. As we get up towards those winter updates, I do like to start looking a little bit at the solar cycle, because it's one of the important factors, I believe, when I come to create the winter forecast. So get over all of that in a moment, but just to say about the ads, so links to articles on all the pages at GaussOverViz.com, have browser widgets, any articles that you're interested in, please click through, you'll be able to go off and read the article, and thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads on most of the pages. They open out within the content. When you watch them, they'll close back up again. It's all helping to pay for the website, so thanks so much for getting involved and doing that and helping to pay for GaussOverViz.com. So let's get on with the update then, and we're going to start with the current situation on the sun, on the solar disk, on our side of the disk today when I'm doing the update. This is the visible solar disk from the website solarham.net. And not a great deal to be seen, really. Solar activity is officially designated as at very low levels today. I've got a few sunspots there and one or two just there, but otherwise a nearly spotless sun on our side of the sun. Maybe different around the other side, of course, but on our side of the sun it is almost spotless, really. Just those couple of regions. Certainly solar activity at very low levels. We are dropping down into solar minimum. The last update that we did, I think it's back in May, we sort of speculated that solar maximum was definitely over, and we was dropping down in solar minimum. I think that is a given now, to be honest. This is from NOAA. This is the solar cycle sunspot number progression chart, up to date up to July 2015. As I say, this comes from NOAA and SWPC in America. So we know that we have the solar maximum. We had a double maximum. First one occurred at the end of 2011, just there. Second one occurred at the start of 2014, just there. The second one are usually above the first peak, and I'll discuss that in other videos. But solar maximum has occurred because we can see that very clearly we are dropping down now significantly, and this is where we are just at the moment, around there in terms of sunspot number. So clearly there's been a big decline, particularly since the start of the year. This is where it was at the start of the year. Clearly we are declining down into solar minimum. The red line here is the trend line, or the forecast trend line, and we can see it's basically downhill all the way into solar minimum. The dates are on the bottom. 2019 just varies around when solar minimum is predicted to occur. This is important because when you have weak sunspot activity, it coincides, the reasons aren't well understood, but it seems to coincide with an increased chance of blocking over the northern latitudes, particularly over northern latitudes on our side of the North Pole. So the weaker the solar activity, and it is weakening, of course, the greater the chance that you're going to get winter blocking. Solar activity at the moment is down in these sort of levels just here, and this really is where we was at the period through the latter stages of 2012 and into the start of 2013. So we're more or less down into 2012, 2013. That was when, of course, we know the second half of 2013 we got this ramp up in activity to the second peak. But the situation now, just there, is very much on a par with the situation that we had through winter of 2012-2013. That was our last cold winter. Let's not forget that. We had a pretty cold winter, 2012-2013, particularly late on, and a very, very cold March. Now, that's not necessarily to guarantee that we will get a lot of blocking and cold weather for this winter, but it is interesting that that this the solar activity at the moment, it's interesting that it is more or less back where it was through that cold winter of 2012, 2013. And it only has to fall a little bit more. It sort of has to get down to this sort of level just here to be back where it was, say, around 2010, 2011. And we know that was a very cold winter, particularly December 2010 as well. We will get to that sort of level, but whether we'll do it this winter or next winter, we'll have to wait and see. But that is certainly where we're going anyway. And in terms of the last solar cycle, we are on a par, really, I think we're on a par with this sort of level just here, which is around 2004, 2005, 2006. So we're sort of on a level we have between 04 and 06. If you cast your minds back to the period from 2004 to 2006, the winters then weren't desperately cold, but they were colder than the winters that had preceded them in the earlier part of the 2000 winters. Around the middle part of the 2000s were sort of chilly at times. We had fairly cold interludes at the end of February, early March 2005, and again we did it in 2006 also. But not particularly cold winters, it has to be said. But that was a much stronger solar cycle, of course. The solar maximums were right up here with that solar cycle, whereas the solar maximums with this solar cycle are down here. But nevertheless, we can clearly see we are dropping down into solar minimum. Now, James Ackrell has sent over this chart. This is basically the same kind of thing, just looking at the solar progression, just backing up for solar cycle 24, just backing up really that we are dropping down into solar minimum. So this was the first maximum that occurs just here, and then we get a second maximum occurring just here. Now we're clearly going down in terms of the solar activity. So obviously we are dropping down into solar minimum. We're not at solar minimum yet. That will occur in this sort of zone just here, but we are on our way down to it now, most definitely. This is from James, and it's another very interesting chart, this one, because it plots all the solar cycles back to the very first solar cycle, solar cycle 1. So we go from solar cycle 1, very first solar cycle, right way to solar cycle 24. And the red line here, the thick red line just there, is the solar cycle that we're currently in, solar cycle number 24. So you can see that quite clearly it is very much one of the weakest cycles that we've had. I mean, most of the solar maximums go up into sort of this zone just here. And we can see that our solar maximum for solar cycle 24 is well down here. So quite obviously we are at one of the weaker solar cycles throughout all of the solar cycles, going back to solar cycle number 1. Have been weaker solar cycles, and the weaker ones are particularly this one here and this one here, which, if you have a look at the cycles listed down here, those two solar cycles are actually number 5 just there and number 6 in the Dalton minimum. So we are above those two, 5 and 6, but obviously, very obviously, we are having one of the weaker solar cycles that have been recorded. The pink line here is actually it's the yellow line. There's a pale yellow line. You probably can't make it out all that well, but it's just there. The pale yellow line is number 12, solar cycle number 12. We've been running very closely to solar cycle 12, which is a solar cycle that occurs from 1878 through to 1890. We've been running very close to that through this particular cycle, and we can actually look at those two cycles to have to take away all the other cycles, and you can see, I think, better on this chart that we are continuing to run pretty close actually to solar cycle 12. So here we are, both for solar cycles 24 and 12 starting off with those cycles, and we can see that the way we've gone up with these various spikes occurring in the solar cycles, the way we've increased activity early in the cycle was very similar, and then the maximums have been pretty similar as well, with these sort of spikes that have been occurring through solar cycle 24 and solar cycle 12, but also getting significant drops in activity. Both cycles did see really significant drops in activity whilst the trend was to increase. So throughout, really, right from the beginning through the solar maximums of both cycles, we've been running pretty close, and now as we're dropping down into solar minimum with solar cycle 24, we can see that we are dropping in a very similar way to what happened in solar cycle 12. So again, if I just take this off, and this is sort of the reduction part of the cycle, of both cycles going just here, and we can see that you may not be able to make it out that well, but the thick red line here is solar cycle 24 in terms of the smooth sunspot numbers, and the thick green line here is the smooth sunspot numbers for solar cycle 12. We can see that we have dropped in activity in a very similar way with both of these solar cycles. So there's definitely a trend there with these two solar cycles to be mirroring one another quite well. We go up to where we are right now in terms of solar cycle 24, which is just here. And again, very similar really in the way we're dropping. We did get a spike up just there, and there was a bigger spike in terms of solar cycle 12 just there. So not totally linear. You wouldn't expect it to be totally linear. You're not going to get an exact match. But nevertheless, the trend overall, I think, with these two solar cycles has been running in a very similar way. It is interesting how closely aligned, really, SC24 and SC12 have been. There was one more pretty big spike with solar cycle 12, which was this one just here. But once that was out of the way, it was really downhill into solar minimum. So we may get another spike or two perhaps in activity over the next few months, but really we are now very much dropping down into solar minimum, and I think we'll probably do it in quite a similar way actually to how we did it in solar cycle 12. Now, one interesting factor about all of this is that the winters have been mirroring one another quite closely from these two solar cycles. So this graph explains what I'm talking about quite nicely, actually. The dark blue boxes are the winter anomalies from solar cycle 12. The lighter blue boxes are the winter anomalies for solar cycle 24. So again, we see that this is the winter of 1877 and 1878 just here, and this is the winter of 2007-2008 just here. These are the two winters at the very start of these two solar cycles, 12 and 24. And we see that they was both milder than average. Both the winters that occur at the very start of the solar cycles are milder than average. Then we move on to the next winters, which both go colder than average. We've got 1878, 1879, which was an exceptionally cold winter just here. And we've got 2008, 2009 just here. That was a colder than average winter, albeit not desperately cold, but it was colder than the winters that had gone on before. The next winter, the third winter of the both of the solar cycles, again colder than average. This time, the modern winter, 2009-2010, is actually colder than its counterpart from solar cycle 12, which is 1879-1880. We get a colder winter for solar cycle 24 compared to its counterpart. And then on to the next winter, which is for 1881 from solar cycle 12, and 2010-2011 from solar cycle 24. Again, both of them are colder than average, and quite interestingly with this is that it includes that exceptionally cold December of 2010, and it also includes an exceptionally cold and snowy winter in exceptionally cold and snowy month in January 1881. Now, very interestingly, the next winter from both solar cycles goes milder than averages. This one just here, that's 2011-2012, and 1881-1882, they both go mild and average. And then we get to the next winter, so we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're 6 winters into the cycle, and we get a deviation now from the trend because we're up to 2012-2013 for solar cycle 24, and we're up to 1882-1883 for solar cycle 12. And we see we've got a deviation. Look at this. We've got a milder than average winter back in the 1880s. Whereas we've got a colder than average winter for 2012-2013. So this is the one winter that does sort of deviate from the trend really quite significantly anyway. Then we go back on trend as we get through to the next winter. We're up to the 7th winter of the solar cycles now. So we're up to 1883, 1884 and 2013-2014, both significantly milder than average. And interestingly, the winter from the 1800s, from solar cycle 12, is actually ever so slightly milder than its counterpart 2013-2014. And then we come up to the latest winter. This is the 8th winter of the solar cycle. It's 1884-1885 for solar cycle 12, and it's 2014-2015 for solar cycle 24. Little bit of a deviation here. I think this is within the bounds though, because the winter from the 1800s is ever so slightly milder than average. The winter that we just had, 2014-2015, is ever so slightly cooler than average. But really, I think we can say it's an average winter on both solar cycles. It's not a great deviation, and sort of ever so slightly above or ever so slightly below average is within sort of the bounds of average. And yeah, I think we can say that really both winters are very similar. Just one comes out ever so slightly above, one comes out ever so slightly below average. But overall, I think, again, very much similar winters. You can't say that is a big deviation. So that takes us up to the 9th winter of the solar cycle, and that one is this just here. Obviously, we haven't got it yet for solar cycle 24 because we haven't started the winter of 2015-2016. But the winter in solar cycle 12 was 1885-1886, and we can see that that was a significantly colder than average winter for that solar cycle. So quite obviously, we do go significantly colder than average. And then the next winter, interestingly, was colder than average, and we had a third colder than average winter as well just there. So we can quite clearly see that the trend from solar cycle 12 anyway was to get colder winters coming along as we went into the reduction of solar activity during solar cycle 12. The effect of that was to start to pull us back into colder than average winters. It's going to be very interesting to see whether we keep running along the lines of solar cycle 12 with this solar cycle in terms of how the winters are playing out. If we do, we are likely to go cold than average. Now, 2012-2013 is the joker in the pack, because that does show us that it is possible, although we're running closely with this solar cycle, it is possible to deviate. So it doesn't guarantee that we're going to get a colder than average winter, certainly for the coming winter, as we did in 1885, 1886. It could be that the two winters will deviate at this point. But I think you can clearly see that up to this point anyway, except for one winter, we have been running very, very closely. Now, James has sent me through some information about winter of 1885, 1886, so I just want to show you this. The central England temperatures for these winter, in terms of December, January, February came out like this. So December 1885 comes out at 3.7, January and February 1886 comes out at 2.1 and 1.5 respectively. That's a very cold. That's a very cold February actually. 1.5. It's not a severely cold month. It's not below freezing, but it is a pretty cold month. And actually, up to that point, I think it was the coldest February for around 30-40 years, something like that. And this is at a time when we are colder overall anyway, of course. So that was a pretty significantly colder than average month in February 1886. It looks like this. We're going to have a look at some reanalysis charts from weathercentral.de. We start off with sort of a mild westerly flow coming in here, but it soon turned colder, and this is the chart for the 6th of February, showing quite a lot of northern blocking. This is high pressure up over northern latitudes, and you see that low pressure is running underneath it as cold air is being pushed out of the pole. So that's clearly a cold chart with snow coming in, engaging that cold air, precipitation coming in, engaging that cold air, would have been turning quite widely to snow. That low pressure clears into the east of the country, and we get this ridge of high pressure pushing down cold air from the north and setting things down. There will be snow showers coming down with that. The upper air temperatures showing really cold air across the country as well, with -10, ice firm in on the 11th of December. It turns a bit milder then through the second half of the month. The high pressure relocates to the east, but starts to draw up this southerly flow. That could probably could have produced quite a lot of fog, though. I would think that would have produced a fair amount of fog, but it's a milder flow being dragged up from the south. It depends how cold it is over France, of course. If it's very cold over there, then that flow is actually going to be pretty chilly, even though the upper air temperatures are quite mild. So it could have been one of those situations where it's milder aloft but cold on the surface. Anyway, as we run up towards Christmas, it does turn milder. Doesn't last long though, and we're back into cold sort of northerly winds as we go through to the end of December. It's 29th of December 1885, and we bring down this bitterly cold northerly wind. There would have been a lot of snow showers coming down with that. We stay cold into the start of January 1886 as well, with low pressure again generally going on a southerly track. Not much in way of easterlies up to this point, so most of the cold air is being pushed in from the north, a northerly winter, certainly the early part of the winter anyway, so it means that the north probably would have had more snow than the south. We go through into the 9th of January 1886. We're still in this sort of cold northerly flow, northerly blast coming down across the country. It'll be bitterly cold air and snow showers in many parts of the country. Up to mid-month again, another cold blast. This one from the northwest feeding in across the country. This could be bringing a lot of snow showers into the north and west of the country as well. The trough then sinks down over the country within cold air, so there would be snow showers coming in with this, maybe longer spells of snow coming down with this trough of low pressure. Follow the ice bars back, you can see the air is originating from the Arctic. Then we start getting a bit of a build of pressure to the north and the northeast, interestingly. The Siberian high there over Russia is starting to move in towards Scandinavia, pushing this trough down to the south of us. So now the winds are beginning to go into the east, and these troughs of low pressure, of course, would be providing moisture, so there could have been quite a lot of snow there, particularly to the south and east of the country, quite interestingly. get through to the start of February. I think that cold spell moderates then towards the end of January, but we get through to the start of February. Again, another cold shock coming through. So in between these cold shocks, we are getting milder intervals. It's not a continuously cold winter as we saw from the central temperature. It's not a sub-zero winter, not a 60, 1963 or 1740. It's not that kind of depth of cold. So between these cold shocks, which are coming through at regular intervals, we are getting milder intervals. Nevertheless, we start February with another cold shock coming down. Again, it's coming down from the north across the country. Then we get a bit of a moderation as high pressure starts to build up from the south. But look where this high pressure goes. That chart was from the 10th of February. This chart is from the 18th of February. And the high pressure gone up to Scandinavia. So it's one of those winters where the high pressure is constantly trying to go north. It's constantly trying to get itself into a cold position, be it Greenland and Iceland, or be it Scandinavia and Russia. And here we are on the 18th of February, bringing in an easterly flow once again. And that sort of strengthens as we go through into the latter stages of February, a proper easterly there, follow the isobars back, and the air is originating from Russia. So proper easterly winds from Russia flooding in. And obviously very cold upper air temperatures. We've got the -10 isotherm there. Across the country would be cold enough to be producing snow. And it stays really cold then into the start of March as well. March 1886 looks like this, with low pressure around the country, and we've got this ridge up to the north. So we've got high pressure going on up here, we've got low pressure just here, and we're bringing down this sort of northerly, northeasterly flow. So this low pressure is within cold air, will be producing a lot of snow. There's the upper air temperatures showing just how cold it is. It stays cold as we go through into the first week of March. Look at that northerly coming down across the country, bitterly cold air. This is probably the coldest point of the winter, actually, in terms of the synoptics. And as we go through to the middle part of March, again, high pressure still in there over Scandinavia, still bringing this easterly flow through across the country. Look at that easterly as we get through to 17th of March. Follow the isobars back, and the air there is originating from somewhere up here, isn't it? So that really is a tremendous easterly blasting right the way across Europe, no doubt feeding in snow as well. The North Atlantic Oscillation is very negative here. Got this deep low pressure down to the south of the country, got the ridge up to the north. And there's the upper air temperatures for the 17th of March, showing that the cold air is feeding back into the heart of Russia. Can we have a look and just see what central temperature was for March 1886? Interestingly, it's not that bad. It's 4.2, so it is very cold, certainly by modern standards. Not as cold as the March that we had in 2013, though. And the reason is that after that chart, just here, the 17th. After that, it did moderate, and I think the final 10 days to week of the month turned significantly milder. So that is how the winter of solar cycle 12 panned out, that we're coming up to with the corresponding winter for this solar cycle 24, if you like. Remember, the two solar cycles are mirroring one another. That's how the winter from solar cycle 12 panned out. It was 1885, 1886. The question is, will this winter from solar cycle 24, 2015, 2016, will that play out in a similar way? It won't be identical. We're not going to get, we haven't been getting identical sort of patterns. It's just that the overall trends of colder winters and milder winters within these two solar cycles have been going very close to one another. Will that continue for this coming winter? It's going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. It will make up part, not all, but part of the GASOVIS winter 2015-2016 updates, which will be starting on the website in September. So not long to wait now, and we will be looking at solar activity and these two solar cycles through those updates. Well, that's it for this Solar Sunday. It's probably going to be the last Solar Sunday that we do this year because, as I say, from next month onwards, we're going to be moving into the regular weekly Winter 15-16 updates, and they'll take us through towards the end of the year, of course. This is probably going to be the last Solar Sunday of 2015. It will be back, though, as we go through into 2016. Have no fear about that. And, of course, anyway, in these winter updates, we'll be keeping an eye on the solar cycle, seeing how it's progressing and comparing back to Solar Cycle 12 as well. So it's not sort of the end of the actual Solar Sunday update, but solar activity will play a big part in these winter updates. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. I know it's been a long video, so thanks very much for sticking with it. And next week on the website, we're going to be looking at El Nino, do the latest El Nino update next Sunday, and it will also be the CFS 6 months look ahead. There'll be other things going on as well, of course, I'm sure. Right, that's it for now then. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye for now.